Hi, I'm Charmaine. Welcome to Curiosity Over Fear, where we have the difficult conversations about overcoming fear with courage and curiosity. So, whether you're looking to change something with your career or just everyday life, I invite you to join me on this journey to be less fearful and more daring.
So I have here today Juliana Rogers. She is a writer, creative, and a deep thinker who is passionate about reimagining success, leadership, and what it means to live in alignment. She has spent years navigating the tension between external achievement and internal fulfillment. And her journey has led her to question the traditional hustle driven model of success. She's also the author of Root Down, a book that explores themes of grounding, transformation, and self discovery. And now she's expanding her work with the launch of her new coaching business, which is designed to support female creatives and entrepreneurs in actualizing their dream lives. Inspired by thought leaders like Elizabeth Gilbert and artists like Aurora, Juliana, or do you like going by Julie?
Julie works.
Julie has been exploring a more intuitive, feminine approach to success, one that prioritizes curiosity, play, and joy just as much as ambition. Through her work, she challenges the idea that we have to choose between achievement and fulfillment. And she's here to share her insights on how we can all redefine success on our own terms. Julie, I'm excited to have you here. Thank you for joining me.
I'm so excited to be here, and what an intro. Thank you. It's always fun hearing an intro.
So, something I find really interesting about your journey is how you've been redefining success, especially through a more intuitive and feminine lens, because I feel like a lot of the things in the world right now, or actually ever, has been masculine dominant. And I came across a quote recently that made me think of you. It said, "Success isn't how much you do, but how aligned you feel while doing it." And I feel like that really connects with the shift you've been going through. For you, was there a specific moment where you started questioning the traditional idea of success or was it more of a gradual realization?
I think it was a little bit of both, where it was the gradual working in this masculine, doing it all the time, disciplined mentality. It wasn't working for me. I kept finding myself feeling really burned out, and I kept trying to fit that mold, and it wasn't working. Um, and so it was the gradual shift of that. And then within the last month was this like, I'm creating this new business. How can I create this new business from a lens that feels more aligned to me and feels like it'll work more for me? Being a woman and being a woman who's very, very oriented towards trying to figure out what it means to be feminine and also like what it means to be masculine. And not necessarily in terms of like gender dynamics, but more in terms of yin and yang energy and just like rest and recharge, devotion versus discipline. And it's just changing the linguistics that I apply things to, changing the mentality that I think of when I'm curating something. And I think changing the energy that I'm showing up with it in.
Mm.
Definitely a new practice and something that I'm cultivating, but just very passionate about figuring out how to make it a reality.
You know, that also made me think of the time where I just kept hustling and hustling and I ended up getting burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
And what I also realized was that I was also trying to chase someone else's version of my dream. And I realized that was very much masculine, masculine energy, because feminine energy is very much not like go, 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 do, more to the point where you exhaust yourself, right? So, did you find a moment or did you have a moment where you actively slow down and reflect, or was it more of like internal shift over time?
Again, I think it's a bit of both, but moment wise, I think it was looking to other female creators that have inspired me and seeing how they operate. And it's like, it looks more flowy. It looked and felt different from what I could perceive. And then on my own end, I think having a female body, like our bodies are cyclical. And I, again, with pushing with the do 24-hour cycle, which is the man cycle, and like
Hmm.
adhering to that
Yep.
wasn't working for me. And I found that like there's some weeks where I am more creative and I can show up and I can be creative and I can be out there. And that's typically when I'm ovulating versus when I'm bleeding. Like I want to rest and I want to sit and rest and I want to honor that. And I want to honor the integration of that into success and into business. And I think that needs to be something that's so pivotal. I think as women are becoming more and more aware of their bodies, I think for so long we've been really disconnected to what it is to have a feminine cycle and a feminine body. And yeah, I think it was the moment of like, okay, when I'm menstruating, I need to rest a little bit more. And it was that, okay, this is happening every month. So I can't
Yeah.
stop this and I can't ignore it either.
So it was just recently that I learned about being able to use your cycle for productivity. How during your ovulation is when you're most productive. And when you have your period, you can actually use it as a way of being reflective and looking at the bigger picture and reflecting on all the things that you want to do to get into your field so that you can bring that back into your business. And I was like, oh my gosh, why in my late of life, not that I'm old, but just like, why don't they teach this to us when we're younger, right? Again, like a lot of societies masculine based.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about how you have inspirational women. So one of them was Elizabeth Gilbert, and you talked about Aurora influencing your work. How did
Yes.
their work influence your shift?
So Elizabeth Gilbert has been a role model of mine just as a writer for years, and I love her work. And I think she plays a lot with creativity, and I just think like the raw expression of honesty. I just recently relocated to Australia, and she came and gave a talk here, and I got to listen to her talk. And within her first couple minutes, she's like, "This whole idea of purpose is just." Can I curse on here?
Yes, you
Okay.
totally
This
can.
whole idea of she said this whole idea of purpose is bullshit. She's like this push, this constant push drive to figure out your purpose, then you figure it out and then you grind at it and then you need to make money off your purpose. Like what if it's just masculine based bullshit? And just like you don't need to go and find and uncover your purpose. Like what if your only thing you need to do is to just be here? And almost like
Mm,
surrender to that. And that to me felt so just like a melting, a giving permission to be like, okay, I don't have to try and achieve and do and be all these things. I just get to exist. And not saying like just floating by in life, but just like surrendering to the experience of being here and being human. And that was huge. And then the following week, I got lucky enough. I think, I don't know, the universe was throwing me just inspiration and I was absorbing it all in. In the following week, I got to see Aurora live in concert. And she's just this woman who I think in so many ways embodies what I would view as like divine femininity, where it's like she's expressive, she's flowy, but then she's very empathetic to the earth and to other people and to other communities. And she advocates for her causes and is unapologetically herself. And I think a lot of this idea of femininity gets misconstrued of being weak. And when I look at
mm,
someone like her, where it's like she's so undoubtedly strong in who she is, but still is this like feminine, beautiful, siren like energy. It's just, I see a woman like that and I'm like, oh my gosh, like so many parts of me wants to learn how to express myself like that as well. As like she was, and she's kind of like a little out there, a little bit more eccentric and weird, and she didn't care. And she's in a room full of people who had like loved her for how authentically she showed up as herself. And I think those 2 points of inspiration of like, okay, surrender, and then just like authenticity and like really, really hammering down the authenticity of how I genuinely, as a woman, want to express that. So yeah, I just incredible to witness and experience those two women in such a short period of time and completely pivotal, I think, to me and my curation of what this is.
I think there's also beauty and or strength in softness, which most people
Yes.
underestimate. Like you can still be strong inside, but soft on the outside.
Yes. I also think too, we're entering a new paradigm of business. And this is just like, I think it's a slow grow. I don't think this is happening overnight. And I think this is just something I've been consciously paying attention to is like I was raised by a male entrepreneur. I've been surrounded by male entrepreneurs more so than female. And a lot of the times, and even male ideologies when it comes to listening to business books or my business degree, the majority of my teachers were male. So it's like all these different male thought patterns were presented. And a lot of it was oriented around this idea that business is war. Business is war, business is competitive. It's you and nobody else. It's like you like kind of like divide and conquer warfare. That's what business is. And when I look at it through the feminine lens, I see more of a lens of collaboration. I see more of a lens of leaning upon one another. And I think that's just how women kind of operate. If you look at like humanity since the beginning of time, women have always stayed in communicative groups and they've talked among one another. And for better or for worse, we've collaborated. And I think we're going to start to see that more in the business field. And I think that's when I kind of look to femininity in business is not this dog eat dog world, but a more like people helping people, hand holding hand, us leading one another. And that's my utopian view of the world. But I see a shift in business, and I don't think the conquering discipline mentality is working anymore.
I also believe that when we collaborate and help each other out, we all get better. We all raise to the top. We all rise to the top. Sorry.
I mean, I was going to say, I fully agree. I think there's enough abundance on this planet for us all to achieve success in a plethora of different ways. And I don't think it now needs to be so oriented of like, we don't need to compete for the abundance. We're seeing its infinite and its availability on this planet. And again, I think the recognition of that is going to be a crucial part to this shift.
So talking about like feminine and masculine beliefs in business, what was something that you had to unlearn about leadership or achievement?
I think I'm still actively unlearning it, but it is like the discipline do every day. And especially when you look at just like, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to ask how are you actively unlearning it?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it, and particularly in this field when it comes to coaching, artistry, and podcasting, there's the necessity to show up online. And the algorithms are catered to this masculine, you need to show up every day, disciplined every day, posting every day. And I'm having to fight with myself a little bit because of learning how the algorithms work and how discipline has worked. Being like, okay, how can we shift this? You don't need to show up every day, but it's how you're going to show up energetically and how you're going to show up for the apps and for yourself and for your creation with this more like devoted mentality. So the active shift that I'm doing right now is devotion instead of discipline. Because discipline is I'm going to show up. I'm doing this every day. This is me doing this every day for myself because this is going to lead to the end goal. Devotion is I'm devoted to this and I want to show up to this and I'm here 100% and I can give this. And if I can't give it today. And that's okay. That's me being devoted to it because I'm loving this and I'm showing up in this in a different lens. And again, it's an active lesson that I am learning and putting into place now, but it's devotion over discipline. That's the major component right now.
I love that. It's like doing something because you're obligated to do it versus I'm doing it because like I want to show up for you. It's almost like a relationship, right? Where you're doing things for your partner because you're devoted to them. You want to with love, not like I need to do this because this is what should be done and the rules of what it's supposed to look like. I love that a lot.
Yeah.
So I do know when it comes to business, a lot of it can be very monotonous and there's no time for play. How do you incorporate joy and play into your perspective?
I don't believe in the phrase there's no time for play, personally. I think it's something that you can cultivate and craft out any day. And I think it's something as a business owner, you almost need to cultivate and prioritize in your life. Because if you have an overflowing well of joy within you, that bleeds into your business. And so play will change and differ. And as a high achieving perfectionist, sometimes my play gets messy in the aspect of I forget I'm actually playing. But But it can be so many simple activities of just 5 minutes of just sitting underneath the trees and just looking at trees and clouds, like just childlike play, because that's the energy of creation. And that's what you want to be creating your business from, is from this youthful, curious lens. Because I mean, at the end of the day, business owners, entrepreneurs, creatives, like there's no set rule book to what we're doing. It is all like playing curiously. It is all seeing what works, adjusting, and it's like you have to be able to infuse that too just in your day-to-day life. And I will make points of like, okay, 5 minutes, I need to just sit underneath the sun and just sit here in the grass and just act like a little kid and play in the dirt for a second.
Yes.
Just like
And
little
also
moments
not
of that.
and also like not judging ourselves for wanting to play. Thinking like, oh, or I'm not being productive right now. It's like, oh, why am I doing? I don't have time for this. Like I should be doing this instead. Because like you said, it's what creates creativity.
I would just say with the creativity component and with playing, again, it's just like we have the go go go, I'm not being productive mindset. Again, that's the masculine lens. And the play, the soft, the feminine, the melting into yourself. I think that's just, I don't know, it's such an important piece of things. But yeah.
What do you think we can learn from artists and creatives about success?
I think I'm going to stew on this question for a second. I think artists and creatives are they're unapologetic in the way that they try. And they're not really one to shy away from the different mediums, the modalities. They just have something that's so innate in them that needs to be expressed through them. And there's no shame behind how they do it. They just go and they put paints on a canvas, or they'll sing a song, or they'll dance expressively. And there's such a beauty in that. And I think business needs to transmute that. This is the business a lot can tend to pretend that it's like the adult form of creativity. It's where creativity goes and wears a suit. And it is still something that is playful, and it is something that is artistry. And I think as entrepreneurs, we can own that more. And we can sit here and say that I'm playing and I'm creating and there's no rules here. And sometimes I know that this could work and sometimes I know that it might not. And I think more radical honesty in business, that is presented and accepted in artistry.
I love that. That's very true. When you're most self-expressed is when people are more gravitated to you too, because they want to be self-expressed because you're the most authentically yourself, and it's attractive.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So what would you say to someone stuck in their old paradigm but craving something different?
I think the first thing is the art of noticing yourself, noticing your energy, noticing how you're showing up. Where are you feeling burnt out? Where are you not? What excites you? Just starting to get into that art of awareness. Really. That's the first step, I think, is just like noticing. And then also being conscious of the shift you want to make. And how do you want to make that shift? And one thing I will say is whether you're a man, a woman, or anything in between, I think there is no set instruction, like the cyclical feminine. Yes, that can really resonate with a lot of women. That might also really not resonate with a lot of women. So there's a lot of things of like the conversations that are at play. Take what you need, leave what you don't, and intuitively find your own approach to this. And that means sitting down and getting quiet with yourself. That means maybe writing out your thoughts and really seeing what's going on in your internal landscape. So that way you can produce it into a reality for your external landscape. And also in this process, being so honest with yourself and with others. Huge, huge to be able to just like declare that, I think, over and over again.
I love that. So if you could go back and give yourself advice to your younger self, what would you say?
There's so many things. And this is where I'm like, what is the bite-sized thing?
Top three.
Top three, I think one is just enjoy where you're at now. Because genuinely take the time to just be so present and be there. Because I think and you hear it as you get older, and you hear it when you're younger, and you ignore it and you think it's ridiculous, but like time runs fast. And so just enjoying where you're at and like being in the youth and being in the presence of just being of having less pressure, because the pressures that you have on yourself, I think when you're younger, a lot of the times are created in your own mind. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Also, just like don't be afraid to try and don't shy away from yourself for others. Like always step into who you are, not to try and fit the mold of everyone else around you, but for who you are. Because I think a lot of young adult life is about conforming and trying to fit in. And I encourage anyone and my younger self is like, you don't need to fit in. You will find your people in being you. Like that's all you need is to just fully be you.
I love how you're like, be present now. I don't think it really resonated with me until more recently when I read, I forgot what book it was, where you never will be in the same position that later on in your life. So appreciate where you are now. Like the example they gave was that, let's say if you had decided to, well, if you're looking for a partner, um, and you just got a heartbreak and you're all down in your dumps and you're like, oh, I'm never gonna get like, be with a partner, blah blah blah. Like, be okay with where you are, because eventually you'll get there. And later on, when you get your partner, you're not that you're never. If you decide to get married, you're not gonna be single again. Like, so
Yep.
appreciate in that moment of where you are. And then when you do get to when you're married or with a partner or whatever it is, appreciate that, because that can also disappear. So I was like, I love that. I love that. And I love that you are realizing this at such a younger age than me. You're very wise beyond your years.
Thank you.
So, okay, final message for listeners questioning their own definition of success. What would your final message be?
The first is don't be afraid to make mistakes. The second is success is not monetary. And I think we
Mm,
get misconstrued that success is monetary or material, but I do truly believe success is a way of peace and it's a way of being, and it is multifaceted and defined by the individual, not by the masses. So, as long as somebody can find that faith in themselves to understand their definition of success for them and stop looking at everything else around them, that is where I think the piece of that's where I think true success lies. Absolutely.
I love that. I love that. Success is peace. Because, yeah, definitely success by the definition of nowadays could be really chaotic and it's not
Oh, yeah.
peaceful at all.
Not at
Definitely
all.
not peaceful at all. Success is peace. Love that. So, where can my listeners find you?
So there's a couple different things. I'm coming out with my Search for More podcast. I did my debut episode last week, so it's just been a coming out with that. That's on Spotify, Instagram, and YouTube. And then I also have my own other YouTube channel that dives into my travels and my life, and that's Truly Julie. And then I also have a website, which is trulyjulie.co, and that's
Can
where
you spell that?
individuals Truly Julie, yeah, TRULYJULI.co. And that is my website where if individuals want to book a call with me to kind of just discuss potential coaching opportunities or just have a chat, that's like all things me are on that website. So,
Quickly, can you let us know what your podcast is about?
yeah, so the Search for More podcast is a podcast diving into conversations with different individuals about how they live their lives and what they're currently searching for. I do think a lot of different people are searching for different things. So it's just about the mentalities and the stories behind what we're looking for.
Mm, yes, definitely searching for more than sometimes is presented in front of us.
Yep.
Love that. Love that. Well, thank you so much for joining me this week on my
Thank
podcast,
you.
Julie.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for this.
Wow, this conversation with Julie was such a refreshing take on success. The idea that success is peace, I never really thought of it that way. I mean, I've always known that my goal was to have peace of mind, but I never actually framed it as peace. And now that she said it, it makes so much sense. And that whole shift from discipline to devotion, that hit deep. The idea that success doesn't have to come at the cost of joy, creativity, or rest, I think that's something that a lot of us needs to hear. So many great nuggets in this conversation. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you know someone who could benefit from this conversation, send it their way. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to Curiosity Over Fear so you never miss an episode. Your support helps the podcast grow and reach more people who, like you, are choosing curiosity over fear. Remember, the choice is always ours, fear or curiosity. I hope you'll choose curiosity today and every day. Stay curious, stay courageous, and always ask yourself, what would be possible if you led with courage and curiosity? If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure to leave me a review so that I can send you a free Curiosity Over Fear sticker. Then after writing the review, claim your free gift by taking a screenshot and sending it to me via direct message on Instagram at Curiosity Over Fear. Thank you for joining me this week on Curiosity Over Fear. If you haven't already, subscribe so you can get a reminder to tune in every other Thursday for new episodes. And remember, always ask yourself, what would be possible if you led with courage and curiosity?